And you have no formal business education, but this,
No, I left school at 15. I left school at Silverdale High School at the end of the 5th year. So,
but it seems like this stuff comes natural to you.
yeah, I think it sort of does. I often talk about this is the type of stuff you can't teach. It's street smarts, it's survival tactic, but it's also knowing an opportunity, but more importantly, doing what you love to do. It's not so much an opportunity because fast forward 30 odd years later, I've really done 3 things in America. Started a clothing company that became relatively successful and had a good run for at least a dozen years, which enabled us to buy a building in a once former desolate neighborhood that we converted, my wife and I, Karen, who I've been with for 21 years. People thought we were crazy when we bought that building. 26,000 square feet, 2-story brick, built in 1902. So for LA, that's an old building.
Right.
But back then, the neighborhood was transient and desolate. To back up my story, when I was doing the clothing thing, I was living in Venice. As the clothing became more successful and needed a bigger building, it was hard to get anything done in Venice because all the garment manufacturing was done in downtown LA. And LA's New York's major fashion city, but LA's also a major fashion city on the West Coast. So it necessitated a move to downtown, rented a warehouse, and ended up living in another loft in downtown. So for the next 6 years, the clothing business grew, and we started selling. We sort of changed our style a little bit because, of course, that trend got swamped, and all of a sudden people were knocking us off and making similar type of stuff in China for a third of the price. So we had a great run for probably 2-3 years, and then what we used to sell Disneyland, let's say for $20 wholesale, they were now retailing that for $20 and buying it from some vendor that had got it made in China and sold it to them for $7 or something. So we formed Serious Clothing in 1994. Before that, it was called Venetian Paradise, little startup business out of my flat in Venice, hence Venetian. At the time, I'm early 20s. It was just like paradise, living on the beach, making some cash, doing whatever you want. So we needed to separate, in essence, Venetian Paradise had become old hat. We were making these hats that were sort of out of style now. It just exploded beyond this cool little hippie thing into a whole big floppy rave thing, and then all the rappers wearing the big hats, and so we needed to change new identity.
Right,
so
fashion business must be tough to stay on top of.
Yeah, 15 years later, I'll tell you why we got out of it. But yeah, it's always same but different. People, they don't want to be the first to try something new, but they want something different. So it's constantly reinventing the wheel. And after 15 years, I jokingly refer to it as we got sick of designing a 3-legged pant type of thing. Right. So in '94, we changed the name. Someone said, wow, that's some serious shit you got there. And we go, oh, Serious, that's a great name for a label. So had this label called Serious, which was full-on cut and sew rock and roll stuff. And we'd started selling this chain called Hot Topic when they had 5 stores. And Hot Topic's like a junior retailer that grew to 700 stores and was in every single mall. And they catered to the misfit teenager, which is always around. It's been around since day one. And that kid just keeps reinventing. But they're always into the same type of genre of goth music, punk rock music, heavy metal music, rebellious teenagers. They're going to be around forever. So that was a core customer. And Hot Topic, we used to do hundreds of thousands of units with those guys. So the business grew to where it became pretty successful, which enabled us to buy the building I described, the 26,000 square foot building in 2000. At the time, people thought we were crazy.